we'll see. We'll see how it is. But I mean, speaking of which, Rivera said so. Now he's back. He is going to be our backup. He's officially cleared and back on the active roster. He will be our number 2. Ron Rivera said, he right now will start with a backup. Then we'll see. Do you think we see Carson Wentz behind center again this season?
I think the probability is high.
Ooh.
I do. I think if Ron didn't want this controversy, he would have said, Taylor's our guy and we're sticking with him. The fact that he said, and then we'll see. Because we got to also remember, they knew what they had in Taylor Heineke.
Yeah.
They went out and traded picks away to bring in somebody.
Mm-hmm.
All right. They were excited. They said, we're going to go get a quarterback this offseason. They didn't say that. Then that was not, we're going to go extend the guy that we have in-house to be our quarterback for 5 years. It was, we're going to go get someone else to be our quarterback. So I think it's going to be interesting to see. Honestly, if we lose to the Giants, Carson Wentz is in next week.
Yep.
I'll say that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I don't think so. I think there's a real good chance we may see him. Not because we're going to lose this week, though. Just in general, I think Ron's looking for that excuse to say, "Okay, I'm going to go back to Carson."
Right. And that's a tricky game, man, because you don't want to lose the locker room sitting here trying to play this little back and forth, because we've seen Taylor mess up. And see, this is the thing. It's going to have to be something very bad. I mean, 3 interceptions and we're getting blown out type thing where it's like, okay, or an injury where it's like, okay, bring in Carson, because we've seen the guy mess up multiple times before and you've still ridden with him. Now, you didn't have much of an option. You didn't want to bring Sam Howell in here that early. So, yeah, we'll see how this whole thing plays out. But that's interesting. That's interesting. Man. So it's funny. Go ahead.
No, you finish your thought, and then I'll say so.
I was saying it's funny. I started putting up the clips from the show, and one of the clips I put up was our question that we asked last week, which was, what should we do going forward at quarterback? Somebody commented on it like 10 minutes after I put it up, and they're like, he's like, yeah, man, I agree, but I do wonder what Carson would look like with a solid running game. And one has to ask that. I mean, we have a solid 1-2 punch right now in Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson. That's definitely hidden some of the issues that we've had with Taylor Heineke. What if you have somebody that can like extend that defense and kind of take those safeties out of the box? Like, what is that? What do you think, man?
Well, that's been the whole kind of argument for giving Carson the chance again, is he never had the running game that we do now. Yeah. And to say exactly just that, if he had a running game and he had this ball control offense that we ran so many pass plays and we were aggressive using his arm strength and arm talent, that we are a totally different philosophy today. There's a reason we have ball control, not just because it kind of fits Heineke's strength, but then it also allows our defense. Allen and Payne and Sweat don't come off the field because they're not playing that much because of our ball control offense. They're not tired. It's been that hand-in-hand play here, that complementary football, as you like to say.
Yep.
But so I do wonder, what would he be like? The only concern that I have is with all these injuries on the offensive line, the biggest struggle, I should have said, or a surprise maybe I had on offense, even beyond the tight ends, was the lack of mobility from Carson Wentz. His pocket presence is bad, and he did not show any mobility, any willingness to get out of the pocket and run like we used to see when he was with the Eagles.
All the time.
He crushed us with the Eagles, and he was not. And so he may not be that player anymore, because then if he's not, this offensive line is still not built for him to have success. Where Heineke is better at not only scrambling to get out of the play. Think back to that 4th and 4 play against the Giants where he ran to the sidelines, threw across his body to throw that ball to Curtis Samuel. But Heineke also does have a better sense of knowing the offense of, when do I just need to get rid of this ball? Get it out of here. To not take a sack, where Carson will hold on to it because he knows, well, if I hold it one more split second longer, I can get it in there. And Heineke knows that this play's busted. Let me get rid of it. So I don't think this offensive line that is set up to help Carson succeed. My biggest wonder is what's going on in that locker room on the offense. What's going on with these receivers? Because we've talked about it. We don't have a downfield passing game. Like, I know Terry loves Heineke and loves his moxie and his courage. Does he love catching 10-yard passes and then getting hit? Or does he like running that deep route with Carson against the Jaguars where he catches it, and runs the next 20 yards into the end zone?
Right.
75-yard pass to De'Ami Brown. There's no De'Ami Brown with Taylor Heineke. He doesn't have the arm to get it to him. So I really wonder, are the receivers really happy, though, with this offense, with this type of quarterback? It brings me back to 2015 when RG3 got hurt. And I go back to this a lot, where sometimes you gotta really watch what the players say. And Santana Moss came out right after and said, "We'll be all right. We can move the ball." And what he was basically saying is, we have a backup who's a better quarterback, and we all know it. And he obviously was referring to about Kirk Cousins. And they haven't come out to say that yet. You haven't heard any of the players say it. They love Taylor's leadership. They love his attitude. We all do. You and I feed off it too. But from a statistics standpoint, from a just playing the game standpoint, from a threat standpoint, from a offensive schematics, he's very limited. You got to wonder if the receivers are actually happy with that.
Oh, yeah, and let's be honest. Winning cures all. We're 6-1-1 in the last 8 weeks. You know what I mean? It's easy to be like, yeah, it's all good because we continue to win, and he's continuing to do that. He hasn't had this game, this huge 2-3 interception game where he's just chucking up these randos to the defense, almost Neil O'Donnell type, where it's like nobody's even around. You know what I mean? Everything we've either been able to recover from, or it just, like the Vikings game, it was just too late, and we even still had a chance in that game. Yeah. So another thing that you kind of want to think about is that going into the playoffs, we're going to have to face now. If we end up, kind of getting up to maybe the 5th seed, maybe we can win that game against Dallas and win out, and potentially, because I think right now we're at 6, maybe we jump up and we're going to need some help from them, but maybe we get into that and we have to play. We get to play a Tampa Bay, or like right now it's slated us to play not Minnesota, San Francisco. You know what I mean? Well, right, but we're gonna get a shot to play them in a couple weeks, so we'll see how that goes. But think about it. If we have to play, we could beat a Philly potentially, but we're going to need to put the ball up in the air.
Yes,
we can't just score 20 points and be okay with it. That's one of the arguments Janae had for me, is like, look, outside of the first 2 games, you guys have scored an average like 24, like 20, 21, 22, 23 points. That's it. That's what you average. When you come up against a high-powered offense that can put up 30 regularly, 35, 40 regularly, how are you going to be? Is your defense going to be able to sustain? And that's a valid question. You're welcome, Janae. But it's the truth. It's the truth. So it makes you wonder, now that we have a solid running game going into the playoffs, which is what it looks like, we're inevitably going to get to if we keep on this run, we need to start thinking about that downfield threat, because going back to one of the things you were saying about the wide receivers, they made a point, even the commentators talked about Jahan Dotson had a handful of targets in his 2 games back, and they had to make a point to get it to him in this game, and we saw what happened. Carson Wentz wasn't having a problem getting it to Jahan Dotson. We were 1-4, but he led the league in rookie wide receiver touchdowns. You know what I mean? So you have those kind of threats where you have Terry, who he can still get it to. He has Curtis Samuel. He has Diami that he's getting to. Everybody was eating, and hence the reason why he's still leading us in passing yards right now. So it just makes you wonder. It makes you wonder if we need to go ahead and just see going down the stretch, because you start winning a couple more games, and you starting to think, hey, wait a minute, we might be hitting the stride right at the right time. Like,
right.
Well, let's see what happens with this thing, man.
Right.
So we'll
it's a tough decision for Ron. Truly,
it is. It is. What up, Nathan? Oh yeah, it is definitely going down the stretch, man. We'll see how it plays out, but I do agree. If he comes out here and has off of a bye week and has a poor performance, it's not going to look good. And it's not a coincidence that Ron did say, he's starting this game, but we'll see. We'll see how things play out, because you got a cannon out there, and we don't have a real deep, passing threat. If we could then implement that in the offense with this, but don't rock the boat. It's not broke, don't fix it. There's a whole bunch of things, man. We will definitely see. So who is better? It's a loaded question, man.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's by Janae.
Yeah, of course. Did you see where I complimented you, Janae? If you talk about who we think is better in general, I think it's hard to say Carson Wentz is not better physically. You know what I mean? Maybe not the wheels, but the arm definitely is. He has the stature that you want as a quarterback. But I'm telling you, man, we talked about it over and over. The mistakes are there, but Carson gives you an energy that it just rejuvenates the team and gets them going. A year ago, it was kind of cautious energy, and you saw that 4-game run and you saw shades of it, but he still had issues. But towards the way things have been going with the defense, if you don't have to make too many mistakes, he could be a Jimmy G. He could be a Jeff Garcia. You know what I mean? Where you have a stud receiver, you have good weapons here and there, man. So what do you think?
My struggle with Heineke is the consistency, because he shows at times the ability to kind of play within the scheme, play within the game, and make and do well. Yeah. Like we talk about, okay, so he's not going to throw it 50 yards downfield for a touchdown, but can he hit a crossing pattern to Jahan Dotson, who then puts this player in a position to make a play, and he does.
Yes.
But then he has these stretches of inconsistencies out there, of wild throws, of questionable decisions, to the point where, so at the end of the game, where it's 160 yards at the end of the fourth quarter, and now it's pop-up time to go get your another 100 so you have nice stats. It's like, that's where I'm like, I'm sick of that type of offense. But I also would say that Heineke's still probably better for this team right now because of the line situation, because of the fact that we don't have a good offensive line. They botched the free agency signing of that. And so maybe you do need him because of that, because Carson Wentz may get the Eagles game 2.0 against the Giants this week if Carson was in there, or then San Francisco after that. They'll just tee off on him if he's going to hold the ball for as long as he does.
Right. And it might take one of those type of games for us to see and kind of force the hand and be like, let's make this decision, and so we can get it going. Janae said, you're paying Wentz good money. Yeah, we are. But we got a back out.
That's the position. I mean, and it's expensive.
Oh yeah, it's not cheap. It's definitely not cheap.
But thanks for watching. If you like that clip, be sure to check out the other great content from the Let's Talk Football community. And as always, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when more great content like this becomes available.